Here are the most effective lessons we've found to help you improve your ability to make a conversation feel natural, light, and organic. Before we get into it, why is sounding like a robot bad anyway? Heavy penalties are given out for sounding like a robot. Interviewers express this in a lot of different ways. Two common ones are, they sound too scripted. The candidate sounds too scripted. Another one, you can come off as inauthentic if when I ask you a question, it feels like I accidentally pressed play on a recording. Sounding like a robot just on its own is a microsignal which contributes to a down level. Having interviewed 100 plus FANG engineers in the last few years, I can't tell you how many times I heard candidates being too scripted is a bad thing. Not to mention, senior and above engineers, they're going to present to some really high level people, right? Executives sometimes. A robotic delivery is not going to inspire conviction in your plans when presenting to upper management or super senior engineers. Essentially, an over-scripted conversation partner is not present. It's harder to listen to someone who's not present. It almost feels like they're wasting your time. And it's hard to be present with somebody who clearly might be wasting your time. Imagine a dial in your head from 1 to 10, where 1 is optimizing completely for organic conversation, and 10 is optimizing completely for precision. In a coding interview, you're probably optimizing for somewhere from like an 8 to 10 to pass that interview, but in behavioral, you're probably more effective at like 6 to 8. Simply put, accuracy, complete accuracy that is overrated in behavioral rounds. A few examples, you don't need 100% exact metrics from that past projects. You don't need the exact name for every single piece of tech you've used on every project, or 100% of every minute detail of the cross-functional collaboration on a project you did a few years ago. Relax that constraint on accuracy slightly, but not completely, and you're in a better state to do some structured improvisation. Here's a few tactics to get you started. Go off track briefly. In natural organic conversations with colleagues in the workplace, we do this all the time. In interviews, for whatever reason, many candidates deny themselves this possibility. When you do it intentionally and only for like a moment or two, it immediately makes the conversation feel more organic. In his book, The Creative Act, Rick Rubin discusses the creative benefits of distraction. The same method can work when applied to interviewing. If you feel yourself being too precise, being too close to the 10 on that dial, deviate from that course, if only for a few seconds. The easiest way to do this is to wander. I'll give you an example, and then when I wander with my hands, that's when I'm wandering. I can't remember the group that stakeholder was in. Our groups tended to have funny names, like Poseidon, so it was probably something like that. But with our naming habit, it could have been anything. Another way to implement this, but kind of in reverse, distraction, is when you already find yourself off track. So you say something to momentarily hold that deviation. So again, I'll give you a real example, and I'll hold with my hand when I'm holding the deviation. I can't remember what that exact title of that person was. It might have been something like staff engineer or principal engineer. I'm not sure if it matters to know exactly, but the important thing to note is that they were above me in the org chart. Intentionally engage the interviewer. If you can get a warm interviewer to make literally any sound with their mouth, it can open up a new possibility of what to talk about, making the conversation feel more alive and more organic, which is what warm interviewers want. Engaging your interviewer is easy if you have a topic you could dive into and want to check their familiarity before diving in. If they're a warm interviewer, say, when I was at Facebook, I worked in VR. Are you familiar with their VR products outside of Oculus? If they're a cold interviewer, say, let me know if you'd like more detail about the VR product. Put your interviewer on the spot. This one takes a bit of savoir-faire, which is French. It roughly means know how to do, especially in a social interaction. If you hear an interviewer say something that you find genuinely intriguing, ask them for more information. Too often, candidates deny the possibility of asking interviewer questions until that mandated end of the interviewer where the interviewer asks if you have any questions for them. Don't be afraid to fire off a few outside of that structure. especially if it makes the conversation more organic. That sounds really interesting. Tell me more about that. That can go really far because it's so clearly breaking the mold of the traditional boring interview where the interviewer asks all the questions and the candidate answers all the questions. It immediately shifts the conversation to feeling less like an interview and more like exactly how it would if you were already colleagues. Hand wave details from your past you can't remember. Don't hold yourself to a super high standard and then fall short of it and then beat yourself up. No one remembers every detail from every single project when they're being grilled. Saying I don't know, which by now you know is a smart thing to do in interviews because it helps. They are not going to keep grilling you when you say you don't know. But sometimes you don't know something that you brought up. The best response when this happens is light and easy. It lets you skip over it so you can focus the valuable time on what you do remember. I can't recall the exact technology we used for testing in that project, so I'm going to hand wave it for now. Senior engineers and engineers above the senior level hand wave stuff all the time. You can see this in system design interviews especially. Hand wave stuff that you don't know. The key takeaway here, when you're ready to put away those bleep bloops and be seen for the three-dimensional human you really are, try these tactics to sound less like a robot. Momentarily go off track, intentionally engage the interviewer according to their interviewer type, put your interviewer on the spot, and hand wave details you can't remember.